In today's video, I want to go and speak about the scary role of dopamine when it comes to distractions. Now, if you've never heard of dopamine before, let me quickly sum things up for you. It's a neurotransmitter, so about a hormone, a substance in your brain that is responsible for the wanting more feeling that us as human beings actually feel. If you know a little bit about dopamine, you know that it's a really important hormone. It's actually the reason why so many people are addicted to random things. We're going to talk about this a little bit later on. But to explain you how it actually works on human, we have to go back in time a little bit, back in the tribal times, right? What dopamine did is that some activities, some things that humans do actually release a lot of this substance that makes people want more of the same activity. So as an example, when we were back in tribal times, people were living in tribes, dopamine was released, for example, when people found a lot of very nutritious, dense food, or it also releases when people had sex. Now, these were all things that were pushing forward the survival of the individual or of the entire group. But nowadays the rhetoric is completely different because we don't have to survive as much as we used to. We have access to food everywhere, we have access to sex everywhere, we have access to all of the things that we should be striving to get in the nature in a very unnatural fashion now. And companies completely understand that. So nowadays, dopamine has become pretty much the currency of distractions. If you look at huge social media companies like Facebook, Instagram, well, now they're pretty much the same, I guess, but also Snapchat, YouTube, all of the big companies, all of the big studios, and all of the big, social media companies overall, they know how to work with dopamine. They know how to make you addicted to something. They know how to make you want more. This feeling of wanting more is used by these companies so that you stay on their platform and you spend as much time as possible to actually scroll and do random things on there. Just look at the evolution of YouTube, Instagram, and pretty much all apps right now. Before that, it was just people putting their pictures and their videos on there. Nowadays, it has changed. Since the arrival of TikTok and when they saw how people were addicted to it immediately, they quickly realized, oh wait, we can actually make people more addicted, like more dependent on our app just by changing the way actually people navigate the app. So right now you actually see people scrolling all day on their phone, and the reason is it releases way more dopamine this way because people always want more. They always feel on edge, like they're about to find the one video they'll be looking for, the one thing that's going to be super interesting or super funny, super entertaining, whatever. So they just scroll and scroll and scroll over and over because this video will never arrive. They will always find something else, get distracted, continue scrolling, forget about the initial goal, and just do this for hours. And yeah, it's sad to see that it's how it works nowadays. Same with sex, with porn and things like this. People get addicted to it because it releases a lot of dopamine. It makes people feel like they're really having sex. So their brain is understanding that, right? It's releasing a lot of dopamine at this area. It makes the brain understand that we are having sex when in fact it's not the case. So it's pushing people to continue doing this behavior, just like with scrolling. And it's the same also with video games because you feel like you're making progress, you feel like you always want more, you want to improve and do things. And it's way easier to do it on video games rather than in real life. So all of these things are pretty much short-term gratification. You've probably heard of this term before. It's the difference between short-term and long-term gratification, when sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself and do things that you maybe don't like or feels boring, so that in the future you get more enjoyable things out of it. Nowadays, companies, the entire society of humans and all industries know about dopamine and how to use it correctly. So it's a shame because now people get addicted all the time. And especially the case for young teenagers and young men because, as I said, porn is a really important factor when it comes to dopamine. And the problem with all of these addictions, with all these activities that release so much dopamine, is that our brain craves more of these high dopamine in like dense activities. And the problem is that these activities, as I said, are really bad for us in the first place. But now all of the other activities that don't release as much dopamine, like reading, going on a walk, working on your business, doing boring tasks that are important to you, they seem so boring in comparison with the rest that release so much dopamine that it's impossible for you to even consider doing those tasks. This is why nowadays we have a pandemic of people with no ambition. I actually made a video about this a few days ago about the no ambition pandemic. And I highly think that dopamine has a huge role when it comes to all of this, and the fact that our society is going the wrong way right now, especially for young people, young men that don't know how to conduct themselves around dopamine. And also the thing is, as I said, when you have high levels of dopamine released all the time, it's hard to be interested in things that release less dopamine. Now the problem is that it's actually an amount of the substance that you have in your brain. So sometimes when you want to go back to be more interested into some of the things that maybe feel very boring right now because you are always distracted with all of this dopamine, you have to do what's called a dopamine detox, where you go and pretty much only do boring activities. Now, every time I say boring activities, you have to understand that that's how you feel they are. You feel they are boring, when in fact they're really not. They're just different activities that your brain maybe is less interested in because it has the comparison with the other things that release so much dopamine. It's not in fact itself a boring activity, it's just the way you perceive it. But you have to really focus on only doing these boring activities so that your dopamine levels in your brain actually go down a little bit. You'll see that that's kind of crazy, because over time these activities seem more and more interesting because that's the only entertainment that your brain gets. And to know if you have fucked up levels of dopamine yourself, look at yourself right now. Are you actually watching this video like in full screen and doing nothing else at all? Are you not getting distracted at all? Or are you watching all of the little suggestions on the side for other videos? Are you either scrolling on your phone or doing something else? We always try to multitask, because when you multitask, you get more dopamine levels around yourself because, oh yeah, I'm watching a video and at the same time I'm on social media and at the same time I'm doing this. This is fucking up our mental health, guys. This is fucking up our dopamine levels. We get distracted all the time. We cannot make any meaningful progress this way. So identify that you're doing this right now and you have fucked up levels of dopamine. And if it's not the case for you, good for you, my brother. So yeah, a dopamine detox is really, really important. I'm gonna make an entire video just on this subject because it's really dense. I don't really have the time to explain it right now completely. But yeah, just know that dopamine detox is when you only focus on activities that release not a lot of dopamine, so that you actually get more entertained by doing these boring things. So as you can see, you actually have some control over your dopamine levels in your brain and how you actually feel about the things around you. So I want you to take that into consideration when you go on your phone and you go on your computer and you do multiple things at the same time, and you go and watch porn and do video games and things that seem, yeah, really entertaining, but at the end of the day, these are like nothing activities. They don't bring you anything. Maybe they entertain you a little bit, but you're not making progress in your life. So really focus on those things that are maybe boring for you right now, but are the important things to do. And also a really important thing is that dopamine actually, as I said, fucks up your mental health. If you're not able to make progress, maybe that will develop anxiety or even depression over time, because you feel like shit when you cannot focus and do any important, meaningful work. Now, if you guys actually struggle with mental health, and as I said, anxiety, depression, things like that, go and click on the first link in the description. I have a coaching program where I help young guys, young men get better and improve their mental health so that they finally can live the life fully. Otherwise, if you don't want to pay for my program, that's completely fine. You can go and watch my other YouTube videos that I make for free, where I speak about all of these issues and these things so that you can actually help yourself with that too. Now, if you guys enjoyed, like this video, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.